Every magic trick consists of 3 parts, or acts. The first part is called the pledge. The magician shows you something ordinary, a deck of cards, a bird, or a man. He shows you this object. Perhaps he asks you to inspect it. To see that it is indeed real. None of them, not. But of course, it probably isn't. The second act is called the turn. The magician takes the ordinary something and makes it do something extraordinary. Now, you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it. Because, of course, you're not really looking. You don't really want to know.
You think
You want to be fooled, but you wouldn't clap yet. Because making something disappear isn't enough. You have to bring it back. That's why every magic trick has a third act. The hardest part. The part we call the prestige.
You got me started, you got the number, can't stop it. It's to believe in magic. Dancing together, you know that could be better. Tomorrow, don't matter.
Ooh, Ace of Diamonds.
So do you believe in magic? Do you believe in magic?
Hello.
Hi, welcome to Question Block.
Welcome to Question Block. This week's theme is magic.
Magic.
I am Alex, one of your hosts, also known as the Prince of Wires. That would be my magician stage name.
I am Arielist, known as the Great Arielist. Arielini.
She's the great Arielini. Yeah, you could do the hanging escapes.
Yes.
You'd be great at the upside down escapes or high wire acts and balancing.
You'd be good at the high wire acts.
I would. I would be more of a Tesla figure. I would be doing... Oh, there's a magician watching.
Oh,
Look at
hey,
that.
we're talking about magic.
We're talking about magic. Pussy is a man. That's a great hashtag.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are not magicians, though.
We're not. So if any real
If
magicians...
any real magicians want to go on, we'd love to interview you.
Yes.
Or we're going to spout off a bunch of prepared facts and stories that we have learned in our research this week about the history of magic.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Indeed. You can also just tell us about your favorite magic trick, what type of magic you like. Is mentalism magic, or is it a different school? There are many schools of thought on this.
Is it mental?
Yeah. And about even the use of the word magic.
Teach you.
Teach me. Well, let's start with the history of magic.
Yeah,
I guess. We'll kick it off with a little history, and then we'll take some
Yeah, we're going to
guesses.
kind of go back and forth.
Where did the word magic come from?
Probably the Magi.
Or, is it Magi or Magoi?
Magoi.
It's spelled
It's Jewish.
M-A-G-O-I. The Magoyim.
The Magoi.
So that was, what, 500?
Yeah, I think so.
BC.
I actually did research in Abracadabra. That
Where's that come from?
it's some like ancient numerology thing where like all the like letters that are assigned, like the letters that are assigned numbers in the word, they like equal 365, and you were supposed to just keep repeating it and taking out like vowels. So some people would wear these triangles that would say abracadabra, and it was like reduced down the triangle.
Oh.
To drain out like sicknesses.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah.
This is pretty cool.
So let's see. Do you want to start with
I'll
our
kick it off.
timeline? Where
I guess, yeah, before the Christian conception of hell. Yeah, so what is it? There's a papyrus they found. It's now in Berlin, called the Westcar Papyrus, dated to 1700 BCE, and that shows conjuring tricks. So even 1700 BC, well after the pyramids were built, as we've learned in previous episodes. But yeah, during like the second Egyptian dynasty, they had people coming and like entertaining them doing sleight of hand.
yeah, there was a magician around that time named Dino, I think.
Really?
Dino? I
Dino
believe
was
it's
the first street magician.
Dino. And he took a
It's a magician right now named Dynamo.
Dynamo. I think his name
But there's
is
a Dino. Okay.
He took a goose and he like decapitated it, and then he got it to like put its own head back on for Khufu, I think.
Okay.
And,
the king wrote about this in his diary.
Yeah, he was like, OMG.
Nice.
These pyramids are crazy also.
In Rome, there was a whole. This is now fast forwarding 1700 years. There's records like in Rome and like writings of Romans and like graffiti that has survived of Romans doing cup and ball tricks. So like the classic like street like, where is it, governor? Follow the ball.
Follow the ball. Is it over here?
It's over here. No, it's here. Yeah, they were called the Acetabulari.
That's
and
awesome.
So they formed a whole group. Like, yeah, they would use stones and small vinegar cups. So the Acetabulari were like a whole group of magicians that were just like, they're like cup and ball. That's where it's at. Yeah, so they were, I'm sure they were doing like grifting on the street and getting people to bet on it and stuff back then.
Yeah. They're like, I'll bet you 3 stones that you can't guess where these stones. It's just everything was rocks back then.
Everything was rocks. Yeah, you would bet with rocks. Oh, you want these notes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, I mean, as you can imagine, in the Dark Ages, they killed a lot of people for witchcraft. So not a lot of magic like evolved during that time.
Yeah.
There is a very funny story it's the late 1500s. Is this guy in there? Yeah, Reginald Scott. So this guy Reginald Scott published a book called The Discovery of Witchcraft.
This is discovery with an IE at the end.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's old.
Stop killing people for witchcraft. Here's how you do all these tricks. They're just doing like basic like sleight of hand conjuring. So he was like one of the original like magicians who spoil it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Reginald Scott published this book to explain like the tricks and that these people weren't doing black magic or cult. And then apparently this is like historians aren't sure anymore, but they're like widely held belief is that when King James took the throne in 1601, he had all copies of the book burned.
Except for one.
I mean, he was Anglican, but it's not clear why he did that.
Because a lot of people were like...
He was like, we gotta burn these witches. I don't want this guy explaining that they're not doing anything bad.
It was actually because people were reading the book and King James was like, I don't want anyone to read anything but my damn Bible.
Okay. Nice.
I mean, right? People were reading it though, and they were like, oh, actually, like, we just want to do these tricks because it seems kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay, so then we'll fast forward a bit. I'll hand it over to you as we transition then as we get into 1800s, we transition from people were still doing magic, but it was like at fairs or whatever and like small county stuff. And then in the late 1700s, 1800s, where it gets interesting because you have magicians who have their own theaters. Elizabeth was king, then James was queen.
So Joseph Panetti, he was a science teacher, and he would do all these really cool science displays.
When was this?
This was 1750. And so he would do all these like really cool, real like science experiment and demonstrations.
Volcano with baking soda.
Exactly.
Vinegar.
Exactly.
Yeah, and people are like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would do all of that, but then he really liked the attention and the awe that people would have. So he would present some of them as magic, and then he would also perform other sort of tricks and like illusions, and sleight of hands. And he was the first person, I believe, to like dress up proper with like a suit, because he was a professor.
In the suit.
Yes, I think that is him, and also Jean-Jacques Houdin. It's credited to both of them. But Panetti was the first real person to like take magic off of the streets and into like lecture halls.
And into the parlor.
Into lecture halls and like
a good point raised by Spikes on White.
Yeah.
He just wanted to point out that James was known for his feminine countenance.
James, right.
King James was known for his feminine countenance. going back to the previous King James, burning all the anti-witchcraft books, and was possibly homosexual. And so homosexuals were considered witches, so maybe he didn't want people to find out. So yes, Robert Houdin. Robert Houdin is his hyphenated last name. We'll get to
Jean Eugene Robert Houdin, because he was French. He's the one that's considered like the founder of the fancy magician clothes. But yeah, I don't know. I think Pinetti's cool because he was just like so flamboyant and such a showman. He didn't use ever audience like plants, except for one time when someone was trying to like up as this guy who was like, hating on him, and had the drunk like interrupt him, and then he was like, oh, here, like I'm sorry, like here's some money, like, oh look, poor guy, he's hard on his luck, and he kind of like had that guy escorted out, and everyone thought it was the guy who was trying to like.
So he brought a double to the show to discredit someone who wanted to expose him.
And he said that the double was the guy who was trying to expose him, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the only time he really used an audience plant. He was outdone, or he was kind of like run into oblivion by, there was a guy who was trying to steal some of his tricks, so he wanted to get revenge on him. So he started mentoring that guy. And he set him up to like make a fool of himself in front of a king of Spain, I think. And so this guy, to get back at Pinetti, he would start going to all of the places that Pinetti had engagements.
What was his name, his rival?
I forget his rival's name.
Okay.
Yeah, he would.
Well, Pinetti's the one we remember now.
Right,
so.
Exactly. So, but the rival out, and Pinetti he was like, I think I'm done.
So Pinetti retired.
He retired. Yeah.
Let's see. And then, then you should talk about, you said Robert Houdin, born 1805. Presented his Soirée Fantastique.
So he was like...
In 1845.
He was kind of the Studio 54 of magic.
So in 1845 is when... Yeah, and then at the same time in London, who was it? John Henry Anderson, the great wizard of the North, at the same time in London, was doing like large theater, like magic shows that were just like a regular attraction for people to go to.
Yeah.
And then shortly thereafter, the greatest female magician was born? Yeah, in London.
1853, Adelaide Herman. Adelaide was actually a performer, like a circus performer. And she married a great magician who died. And so he was like, he had gotten very into debt, which she didn't know. So when he died, she was like, oh, okay, I gotta like pick up where he left off like right away.
She just took over his act.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, she took over his act with his, I think like one of his cousins. And then the cousin was kind of being weird and like not, he hadn't watched like their shows together. So he was kind of dry and, he wasn't like comical or like witty. So Adelaide just took the whole show over. She had an act where it was kind of like a Noah's Ark act where she would make all these animals appear out of a giant crate. And she would actually store this crate and all of her animals and props on 46th Street on the west side.
Oh, she was in New York?
That's where her like storage was.
Okay.
But she did travel. And there was a huge fire that like killed all of her animals and like burned the crate and at one point. Also, she was like 50 or like, yeah, she was like 50 or 40 or 50 when this started. When her career really like started. So after the fire, a lot of her friends were like, you have to quit. Like, this is crazy. You know, you can't, like, build yourself back up again. And she was like, no, I will. And she did. And a lot of, like, magicians helped. Like, they like, gave her some money and they helped.
One of his cool tricks, not that I've seen his act because this was before you could record stuff on film, but one of them, he liked using also, I guess all magicians do, use, like, science and technology as part of your, like...
Not all magicians.
They do. There's magicians on the forefront of technology.
I guess
for the most
math
part.
for card stuff.
There's magicians who do crazy stuff with phones now. They like make your like smartphone do stuff because I think they know the programming codes or something. I don't actually know how this works, but it's cool. So Robert Houdin had this trick where it was called light box, heavy box, and he would just bring out like a 1 foot box, and it had a big coil inside it, like an electromagnet. And this is before electromagnets were around, not that they are. And then, you know, there was a base plate that was like, they could run a current through to make it magnetic. So he would have a small child come up and pick up the box. And then he would pick like the biggest guy in the audience and be like, come lift up this like, surely you can lift the box. And they would turn on the magnet and the like strong guy couldn't pick up the box.
Oh, yeah.
It was like yeah. And then he would like, you know, he would come and just pick it up and like toss it around and be like, oh, I guess it's too heavy for you. And like, yeah.
That's great.
But this is when like, magnets, how do they work? Nobody knew back then, or what they were.
Magnets. What
So-
if?
Yeah. Whereas we saw in the film The Prestige,
Oh, God.
still nobody knows how electricity works.
Oh,
So-
we'll talk about the Prestige. That was like that was a real. Ooh. I'm like, I have part of your cape.
Okay, so we're into the late 1800s now, so we might as well talk about the birth of Harry Houdini.
AKA King of Cards, King of Handcuffs.
Yeah.
AKA Eric Weiss.
Yes.
Eric-
Eric Weiss.
Yeah.
So he's born in Budapest. He's Hungarian, and then at age 4, his family moved to Wisconsin.
Which is what his birth certificate says, because you could just change that shit if you wanted.
It says he was born in Wisconsin. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was an Eric Weiss. His dad was a rabbi. And then when I was a dentist would say that.
What did the dentist say to Anne in the comments?
Oh, to Anne in the commenter Anne, a dentist once told her, I don't know how electricity works.
Oh.
Which, why would they? They're a dentist.
Yeah. It's not
important.
like a
Yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors.
But, yeah, so Harry Houdini, Eric Weiss, growing up in Milwaukee, his dad somehow lost his job as a rabbi. The family was super poor. They moved to New York City. And then Houdini, like, even as of, like, he was like a really skilled, like a talented runner. At age 9, he was doing trapeze acts. And then at age 13, he, like, basically got an apprenticeship. He did bill himself as the king of cards. He, like, wasn't that successful at first.
He's great at locks.
Yeah, so
Really good at locks.
most
when
magicians
he was
agreed
little kid.
that he actually didn't have the finesse to be great at sleight of hand or cards. He was like competent as a card magician, but he got his big break when he was like in his early 20s. He got his big break. Some manager for like the vaudeville circuit saw him do a handcuff escape and was like, "Do that, do more escapes."
Yeah. I think he said that he would pay him to not do any of his other acts and like to develop. He's
develop
like,
the
look, if
handcuff.
you can stretch this
Yeah.
out.
Houdini, as you probably guessed, because we were talking about Robert Houdin, Houdini named himself after Robert Houdin because he thought in French putting E at the end meant
I.
like I. Well, Houdini,
E.
or putting an I
The sound of E
at
or
the end of the name
letter I.
meant like Houdin, which it doesn't. I think it means the small Houdin, which
Which
is also
he-
fitting because
he was
Houdini,
small.
He was
Yeah.
5'6". Kind of like a burly 5'6" guy. And so, yeah, interesting factoid is that later in life he had a falling out with the widow of Robert Houdin, or maybe it was his like niece or whatever, who denied him permission to visit Houdin's grave.
Oh, true.
And then he visited the grave anyway. And then
photographs.
wrote an entire book trying to debunk Houdin, his former childhood idol, later in life, just out of spite. A very spiteful guy. Where are you going?
I have more notes on
You're getting some stage magic? We have a request from Dubin Magic.
Oh, yes. Okay. Awesome.
Should I accept?
Yes.
What are you doing over there?
I have like some notes.
Let's go live. Hello.
Yo,
Hello.
how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
It's weird, man. It's weird.
Yeah. So you are a real magician. And we've seen you perform. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've seen you perform. We've performed together.
We performed together. That's true. We
And it's so ridiculous, but you guys keep calling him Robert Houdin,
Yeah.
and it's Robert Houdin.
Robert
He was
Houdin.
French.
yeah. Yes. Yes.
I don't know why it's driving me so crazy.
Yeah. No. It's good. It's good that you educate us. Yeah. Robert Jean Robert Houdin. You were to want to tell us?
Or what have you been up?
Corporate Zoom magic shows.
Did you have to change up your
What's
act
that?
a lot?
I mean, I'm doing some things that are just straight up that are just straight from from real life, but I'm definitely doing more like mentalism stuff and things. I'm doing different stuff, and I'm kind of like, when I first started doing it, my thought was I want to be able to. I don't want to do all of the same things that I might do if they hire me in person. But now, like,
a whole nother like to get more creative.
this is what my living room looks like now. I'll show you.
Oh wow, you have like a whole studio
Oh,
there.
it's a studio.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I have lights, and
That's
you
awesome.
know, I put my computer here and a camera, and it's like,
That's
it's like a whole thing now.
yeah. That's and you got some chains.
I saw a chain. I saw a ventriloquist
I
dummy.
got what?
Yeah, we just saw a chain.
A chain?
Yeah, there when you panned away, there was like a little end of and the dummy. Yeah, there was like the end of a chain. I was like, ooh.
That's for personal use. No, I don't see a chain. I don't know what.
That's also magic. You made it
magic.
disappear.
No, that's magic.
Oh, it's my door.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, the chained door.
The chain door. The escape. It's the escape
It's
act.
escape act.
So why are you guys doing the history of magic? Just because you love magic, or just because you're like, we gotta think of something to do?
Well, we do this talk show every week, and then we do a 2-person Ariel rave about the theme. And yeah, we were like, magic would be a really fun one. So we did a whole bunch of research, and here we are.
So now you're gonna do a Ariel magic act?
Yeah, it's a rave with like, Dr. Wire's DJs, like songs
DJ.
that have to do with magic and
You're gonna do Ariel stuff.
Yeah.
And we are gonna have Abracadabra doing some escapism.
yeah,
Tonight?
No, that's
this
Saturday
is going to be
night.
on Saturday. Yeah.
Okay.
We also might have some green screen magic happening. I guess if you call it that, you're kind of giving it away, but Alex might get decapitated. That's all,
Oh, with the yeah, that'll be our magic. We'll do some illusions
By the green screen?
during the rave.
Yeah, perhaps. If you're lucky.
There was I saw a Chris Angel trick revealed, and it turned out to be a green screen, and I was so mad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He a lot of people didn't like that guy because of stuff like that.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I feel like, because Alex was saying that he's like, no, everyone loves him, and I was like, I feel like magicians don't really like him.
It was a mix of his attitude. He was real cocky and full of himself, coupled with his tricks were just like one person videoing him doing a thing that they then edit and post. So it's like not even.
But
Yeah,
what are your thoughts?
I never liked it because I just didn't like his shtick. But but aside from that, his David Blaine was like a real close-up magician who had real chops, who if you like met and at a party with a deck of cards could fuck you up. And I never got that vibe from Chris. Chris Angel was more like a stage guy who was doing a stage show on television. You know what I mean? With like a lot of plants and fake audiences. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it was just not cool.
Mind freak. Who's your favorite magician besides yourself? Because you're amazing.
I love me, man. Oh, I mean, I don't know. there's a bunch of people that I like. That I think one of my favorites that you guys may or may not know is Matt King. He's like a comedy magician. He's big in Vegas.
I think we might have seen some video. We were watching a lot of videos.
We were watching a lot of video. We were watching a lot of Penn and Teller fool us.
Right. There's all kinds of great guys on there.
Yeah.
I love a guy that just recently passed away. Oh shit! I'm sorry, I'm plugging my phone in my.
No worries.
This guy Eugene Berger, he was just like a great close-up magician. But you know, I loved Copperfield as a kid growing up.
Yes. Yeah, his
We're gonna talk some about Copperfield.
Last 2 summers ago, they had the History of Magic at the New York Historical Society. It was like a whole thing, and they had a bunch of Copperfield's effects there. You know, you've heard about Copperfield's like private museum that he's got, like the largest collection of magic in the world. You know.
Oh, we didn't know it was the largest, but yeah, we read up on him.
That's what I've heard. He's you know, he's got tons of money.
Yeah.
Stuff. So a lot of the larger illusions that they had, and they were just like in the lobby of this museum. They came from him. So, you know, they had a bunch of different magicians throughout the month doing stuff, and I did a day, you know, there was a Houdini exhibit, and Houdini also did the needle swallow, which I do. So I kind of was like, I could do the needle swallow. Houdini used to do that. There's pictures of Houdini with the needles.
Yep.
And he had that quote about the cups and balls, which you guys may have come across, that they may or may not be real. Have you heard that one?
Just tell us. Say it. If you or paraphrase.
Like, I'm gonna paraphrase it. It's like no magician or a magician should be judged on how well, if they can't perform the cups and balls. Something like magician.
Or he was an escapologist, but not a sleight of hand guy.
Yeah.
He was the fucking king of marketing, because I mean, we're still talking about him.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, he was not the greatest magician. And his acts were, think about it. He would get on stage, get into a milk can, and then they'd close the curtains around him, and you'd sit there for 20 minutes.
Yep.
Boring by today's standards, but they thought he was in there dying, so that's what people were going to watch him die.
Well, I heard that he did some publicity stunts to like drum up into a canal inside of something, and he would get he would have to get out. But that was just, and he'd be like,
wonder about it, because I'm like, when you read these accounts, he wasn't such a great magician, but I mean, obviously people are jealous. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But think about the time, right? It's like the 20s and the 30s. You got no TV. All you hear is shit on the radio, and all he really had was the publicity, right? Yeah. So he would get down. He would go to the police station, stick some keys up his ass, escape from the, however he did it, escape from the jail, right? Or hang upside down from a building, or whatever he would do. And, it would get written about. So you would only have the written account from some hyped up, guy who wrote the article who probably got paid off to make it through town, and you may or may not get a chance to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't like watch it.
There were pig blood in the street. Like it was all, you know.
That's cool. We didn't. Yeah, we did not.
Which is cool.
That's
I'm
really
not,
cool.
I'm not. It's kind of like the modern day Houdini, except
Very
that
much.
he's a great magician.
Yeah.
But you know, he does these massive stunts, and it's like, it's largely about the height. You know.
Yeah. He's also like trained himself very physically. Like I know that Houdini kept in really good shape, and like practiced, you know,
Well,
holding his breath and everything. And
Houdini
then
could hold his breath over 3 minutes.
Yeah.
During escapes, but
He was a strong Jew.
Yup,
he was
exactly.
Yeah, strong, stout Jew. But yeah, David Blaine did, with oxygen assistance, did 17 minutes holding his breath. But yeah, there's
And,
similarities
the
in the endurance stuff David Blaine does, and then teaching yourself to swallow frogs and hold them in your esophagus, which David Blaine did in the last couple of years, is pretty great.
And all the, you know, it's funny, like, you know, you see all these guys, like, at the slipper room, like someone like Jelly Boy, or, like, these sideshow people
Yeah.
that can stick needles through their arms.
Yeah.
But it's David Blaine looks like a nice, he's like, you
Yeah.
know, he's like
He just looks like a dude. Just like a
his presentation is different, so it lands differently, you know?
yeah. Which
We'll talk about, we'll go more in depth on his bio, because he's born in which is cool. So I guess they're enjoying the conversation.
oh yeah. Yeah, this is also
It's
going
on Twitch,
It's on Twitch, and it's gonna be it's a podcast as well. So through the magic of Streamlabs or
Editing.
OBS, I
Yeah.
guess, and editing.
But yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so you're putting this out to Twitch and Instagram Live?
And iTunes.
Yeah, and then we put it'll be on iTunes and Spotify on the podcast.
Yeah.
We should probably schedule guests. We just have people call
I
in
like
and talk
it.
about whatever.
It's like
It's
the
actually
only
better, you're
Instagram.
right.
It's
Yeah.
like the only Instagram recorded podcast. Twitch.
Yeah, who does an
Instagram.
improv podcast?
Yeah.
So there you go.
You guys have kept up the live thing all the way through, because I was doing the live show in the beginning of the pandemic, and then once George Floyd happened, I stopped.
I think that, I don't know, for like doing shows or whatnot, and then didn't get back in the groove.
Yeah, but we felt that art is never like I mean, it can be a bad, like there can be bad art, but we were like, we're just trying to, you know, make some people smile, and like we're not like, ooh, look at me, you know, we're just like, it's here if you need it. Don't look at it if you don't want to, you know.
No, it's great. I think it's great. I just never found my mojo again for doing it. Like, I felt the need to do it in the beginning, you know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because there was nothing else going on, you know.
Oh yeah, we do it to entertain ourselves mostly.
Yeah, and it's great now, which is cool. I mean, these are often topics.
I don't want to mess up your flow, so I'll let you guys back.
Well, do you have any final magic things that you would like to leave us
Is
with?
there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, plugs.
Aphrodite. I don't have any public shows coming up, although I've been thinking about doing that. So no, I got nothing to plug.
Well,
I got nothing.
You
Wanna
can
try
put-
card trick?
yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have a deck of cards. You got a deck of cards, right?
Oh God, we do.
We do have a deck of cards.
Dr. Wires. Do you want to help me pick?
I'll pick 'em up
We
real
just
quick.
money gunned the cards everywhere.
Let me grab them.
So Dr. Wires is gonna pick them
I
up.
don't have to pick them all up. I'll try. I don't know if this will work. Maybe try.
We'll try. We'll really focus real hard.
I'm picking up.
But if you want to throw your like your website or stuff in the comments, we'll put it in the show notes. If anyone has any virtual happy hours or anything.
yeah, we get a lot of corporate
Yeah.
viewers.
No, we've done a couple of like corporate
that's true.
happy hour performances. So
You
can-
know.
I've been doing a lot of them. It's been a lifesaver. and people are still doing them. But my website's Dubin Magic. It's all the same as mine. It's all Dubin Magic.
Okay. We'll put
Just
it.
started a TikTok too.
Oh my gosh, we don't even have a TikTok. I'm worried because I'm like, if I started a TikTok, I'd never get out of there. Thanks for cards, and it does. Now we have our deck.
There's a couple more by your feet.
I think if I bend over,
Oh, you keep your.
if I bend over, it's gonna be a
You'll have your
disappearing.
own little.
My own little magic act.
Hey, you know what?
Okay, we got our deck.
Yeah, count them. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
one landed at Ant's apartment. Nice. Would
That's so cool.
So like that's how you get written about is like go right to where the reporters are, like create a spectacle by hanging.
He was like the original Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Him and his wife would also go to, they would sort of, I guess, disguise themselves by not disguising, like by just like dressing in plain clothes.
To break up the seances.
Well, no, they would go to like, they would go pick up some gossip in the very beginning before he was like super against.
When he did like mentalism stuff.
Before he was like really against that. They would go pick up gossip, and then when the people would come to their shows, they would do some mental tricks on them.
Nice.
Some mental magic. All right.
Mental, it's mental. Okay, we got.
All right, forget the cards. I'm gonna try something.
Okay.
You needed to pick those cards up anyway.
We did.
Card.
There we go.
I
Magic.
like the cards. Don't put them back in the gun.
Since you guys are talking about mentalism and mental magic, I'm about saying even that. I always say that I'm a performer who does magic. Although now I'm not as uncomfortable with it. But if I do any kind of mentalism, I have to call it mental.
They go mental on you.
They do love to, the ambiguity.
They said they go mental.
I'm telling you now. Yeah, they go mental. I cannot read your minds.
Okay.
I'm just saying right now. But what I can do.
We were thinking that though. Okay, sorry. Okay. I had to. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna ask if I can make your boyfriend disappear next. Come on. What are we doing over here?
Okay. Okay.
No, you can do it. I see him. I see you under your breath going.
Okay.
But what what I can do is influence your box
Okay.
in the beginning of this, and I'm gonna put that right in my pocket, so I can't get to it. Right.
Okay.
Remember before we start. Okay, so here's what I want. So if I could read your mind, I might tell you to think of a word. Think of a word. I'm going to have you say it in a second, right? An easy word, right? Something short. But I don't know if you're thinking of a thing, a place, a person. I don't know if it's something you're looking at, right? Could be anything. By the way, if you're thinking of something, change your mind right now. Just change your mind. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I working with?
Oh yeah. Which mind?
Oh,
You
let's do you.
Okay.
Since you're.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, on the count of three, we'll say the word together and see if I can say the word you're thinking of. Ready?
Mhm.
1, 2, 3.
Wave.
Balloon. Wait, like stop.
Wave.
But then we'll go, right? So I'm gonna try to figure out what card you're gonna stop.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
I'm gonna write it down. Hold on, don't tell me.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah.
You want?
So now the good thing about cards is that when I try to think of a card, I always get at least one word right.
Okay. So I should pick a card?
No.
Okay.
I'm writing one down.
Okay.
We're gonna do it differently than.
Okay.
Okay. So I have it right here. Got
Okay.
it? I'm gonna put this right here, so that I can't switch it out or anything.
Okay.
And then I have my deck of cards here. Okay. I'm gonna shuffle them. Normally I give them. And then do you want me to cut the cards or anything? Like, you can direct me.
Yeah, cut.
Give it a couple.
Yeah, cut the deck.
How many?
How many?
Yeah, how many times?
How many times? Twice.
Okay, 1, 2.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
You want me to shuffle anymore? Okay. Or we're good.
We're good.
That this is the best way to have someone pick a card. Other besides having you reach out and touch, which you can't do.
Right.
So I'm gonna riffle down like this, and then you'll tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Right. And then and I'll go slowish because of the delay with Instagram. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep. Stop.
Right there.
Yep.
You want me to keep going or go up a couple? Whatever you say.
Right there is good. Right there.
Okay, great. So you stop me right here. And by the way, the whole deck is all different cards, you know?
Okay.
It's all
Yes.
the same card. But you stop me at the 3
Of diamonds.
of diamonds, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What did he write on the paper?
Oh my goodness. What? The 3 of diamonds. That was awesome. Oh my god.
Are you gonna shoot
Well,
them?
listen.
Yeah, I want to shoot the card.
Look, here's the thing, though. I want you to remember, I showed you guys, this box has been in my pocket the whole time since we started, remember?
Yes.
And remember, before we started and did anything, I put a piece of paper in the box.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, there it is. I remember that.
Okay. I'm going to do this. I want you to see what I wrote. Would you be impressed if your word was written on this piece of paper?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I will. Ah! That's awesome. It says your word.
It's a bad melded up piece of paper. And written on the inside, I wrote
It was awesome.
That's wild.
Oh my god, in one. That was crazy. That was like a contortion.
Ask Albert if he can do that hanging upside down.
Right? That was really cool. I mean, if you should we invite him to the Yeah.
Sure.
If you want to come on Saturday and do some
tricks.
magic too, you are more than welcome.
out.
There will be music playing the whole time, so it's kind of more like visual stuff and like
This is a live thing?
it's a live thing, but we can DM about this because it's just me and Dr. Wires and we'll DM about it.
Upside down escape?
He's not upside down escapes on the
It's
chains.
Ariel stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we used to work at Albert used to run the thing at Ripley's, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Houdini escape.
We're his.
That's great.
That's
Nice.
awesome. Well, we do have a bunch of like harnesses and fun levitational things that we might play with, but we'll discuss. We'll DM you after the show
Alright,
tonight.
cool.
Thank you so much.
Well, have fun.
Yeah, this was
Let's
sick.
Get your fucking pronunciations down, right? And I won't have to bother you anymore.
Okay, we will. We're friends from now
Well,
on.
it was worth it to summon him.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
I'm sure someone else will call in and say that I'm wrong, so whatever.
yeah, don't let the mentalists on here. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. Let's should we let's see. Should we
Alakazam.
Alakazam. Hocus pocus.
See you guys.
Remove.
Bye, dude.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
That was so cool.
Yeah, we're gonna put. Yeah, that was so.
Mispronounced.
By mispronouncing.
That's a great way to. That's a good trick we need to remember.
Oh,
actually,
yeah, we
is
just-
that yeah, we can get an expert on any subject to come
We just have
on
to
the show if we just
mispronounce or just give like the wrong facts.
Yeah, like
Ish.
doing it in a knowledgeable, confident way, just saying the wrong thing. I think there's nothing.
Yeah,
there's
I'm
nothing that
pretty
pisses
sure.
off an expert quite like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
So yeah, to sum up Houdini.
Oh, I got a
real-
few more factoids.
A few more Houdini
Did you
facts.
know he met his wife Bess, who was his stagehand throughout his life,
She also was in a lot of his.
and was in a lot of his acts. They met.
Thanks.
They met at Coney Island.
No.
Brothers at Coney.
A thing. Spirit. Okay.
So Houdini escape.
Um.
Houdini like maybe didn't escape. There was this very like controversial handcuff escape act that I think it was the Telegraph or like some London newspaper, and then Bess came on stage and gave him a kiss.
Oh,
and they're pretty sure she like snuck him the key
yeah.
when she did it, but no one really knows exactly what happened. But then like
Can't get out of the
I
straight
thought
jacket.
about that a lot.
Like
We'll
he's
talk
just there.
about
Yeah.
we'll talk about that at the end because I did look up how to escape from a straitjacket.
Ooh.
We don't have one.
Brothers would actually, he was like, he would basically, every time he came out with a new trick, he would do it. Then his brother would perform it, and then Houdini would expose her, honey. He would tell the secrets of it, and no one else
Nice.
could really copy it.
Yeah, Houdini did keep updates on from handcuffs to jug was like his standard. He would get into, I guess milk used to come in like big ass canisters.
Yeah.
So he'd get in the milk canister. You guys were talking about of corporate branding and corporate sponsorship. So he would, when he like visited a city on the vaudeville circuit, he would team up with local merchants. So like
That's so
he like
cool.
escaped from that, and he like, yeah, depending where he went, he would team up with like local merchants.
The handcuff company, they were like, he got out of these.
But what else? Then, I was telling you, he promoted the New York City subway opening by hanging upside down from a crane that was
Oh my
constructing the
God.
New York City
Oh.
subway.
I thought he hung upside down, like, on the subway. I was like, yes, the original, like...
This was in 1905. Upside down
He
from
was
it.
like-
Did you? By the way, we'll get to it later. But David Blaine did a whole bunch of promotions with Donald Trump back in the day, which is really
Gag.
funny. Back when Trump was just a goofball.
Houdini also...
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
he still
so...
is, but
So right
He was
around the
too.
same time, there was this like rise of spiritualism. People were there were these foxy sisters called the they would, if people thought that like spirits were knocking back and they were communicating. There were lots of Ouija boards. One reason for the rise in spiritualism is loved ones that had, passed away.
okay, I see that. Yeah.
Victorians were super.
There is a 1970 equivalent at the time of millionaire. So he bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, and he bought an antique dress that had been worn by a European queen, gave it to his mom, and presented his mother to the rest of their family because they grew up super poor.
She raised him and his brothers, and like when she passed away, he was just devastated. And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who has come up in a couple of other of these, and it was just like a real. So like, dude, shut up!
For
Like,
the man who wrote Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan
super
Doyle.
gullible, like such a rube.
Was
like,
real rude.
and he thought that Houdini was really magic, and like suck him in, and like he's like, if I could just, it's kind of like someone putting someone else in drag. Like he wanted, after Houdini's mother passed away, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was like, sweet, I'm gonna jump on this, like get him on this occult train, get him off the New York City subway and onto my occult train.
Okay.
They did a seance to contact Houdini's. He was like doing tricks and, illusions to conjure these people's loved ones. So he kind of wasn't into it, but he was like, for my mom, if they can medium, the mother was supposed to like communicate through her. And I forget specifically what happened, but it was something to do with like Jewish, married a rabbi.
Bible quote.
Yeah, he was like, no, she's not.
Yeah, he's like, she's a Hungarian Jew.
Yeah,
What the fuck
like
are you talking about?
get your like references correct. Come on.
Yeah.
So he became really pissed, and his side hobby became like showing people and proving to people that spiritualism was a hoax. That was like his little
I
side
do love a thing that comes out when you read Houdini's biography is people, honestly.
And I'm Jewish, so I can say that.
Because he published a book about Robert Houdin, trying to discredit him and claiming he didn't invent a lot of the things that he first showed off. He was like, he didn't invent the levitation trick. Like, here's other people did it before. And a lot of scholars disagreed with Houdini. But Houdini was
also
so mad because the guy's widow was mean to him.
Also, the Vernon thing, too.
What's that?
That Vernon was I believe, the only person to like fool him.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, who fooled Houdini?
I think, yeah. Can I have our
Oh,
Can I have our notes?
You need your notes?
Because you're
Yeah.
looking at me like oh huh, and I'm like, wait, let me just.
This wasn't in the...
Let me fact check.
I missed that.
Um,
Am I correct?
I do believe that he was the
Oh, was-
first.
Yeah, I was saying Houdini graduated from, what, milk jugs to... Then he was big in packing crates, and then he did the Chinese water torture chamber.
Di Vernon,
Okay.
aka the professor.
Oh.
So he was. Houdini said that he could figure out any card trick if someone showed it to him twice. And Di Vernon showed him this one card trick like 9 times, and Houdini was like, look over there, and he like escaped.
There are mentalists who do...
The Chinese, we can talk about them. The Chinese magicians.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you saying?
But so
Di Vernon tricked Houdini.
yeah, but Houdini wouldn't admit to it. But then Houdini's wife like wrote to Di Vernon in secret and was like, "Dude, he couldn't sleep all night. Like he's like really upset that he couldn't get your card trick."
That's great.
Well,
so Di Vernon, the professor, went on to... He founded the Magic Castle in Los Angeles, which is like a headquarters of a bunch of magicians.
he became the president, but I don't.
Yeah,
think
he was the president of...
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't found it. He was the president, but helped establish like the... I guess factoid about Houdini, another cool thing he did in like... He did all this, he only lived to like 50. A little older when he was in his 40s, he would, while on the vaudeville circuit or touring, he started signing up magicians to join this professional guild of the Society of Allied Magicians to basically get better pay rates, to force venues to like take them seriously, to help promote each other. And so it still exists today. In London,
Yeah.
which has twice expelled their president.
Disney kept coming up, and unless you're invited, it's like vampires. Unless you're invited, come see stuff there. You can't like, it's kind of like the Comedy Store in Los Angeles and California, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's that kind of vibe, but like for magic, I guess. Like you get dressed up. It's like there's the best of the best, and there's magic in every room, and there's different rooms, but you can't like go there.
It's in Secret Las Vegas. Also Magic Castle. It was Baby Kelly,
Okay.
Future Show.
Just castles, but yeah, you can't like go there and see the magic unless one of the like someone who's like, oh
Join the
yeah,
Magic
yeah.
Castle.
We do like little stops along the way with this history.
For what? Sure. Yeah, we've been doing little. Obviously, we're already an hour in, so we're getting sidetracked. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of like the early, the 1920s is Houdini stuff, right?
Well, let's just David Copper, or we have Houdini's death.
When did Houdini die?
1926 on Halloween.
The urban legend that he was he had a trick where he would like tense his stomach and let somebody punch him in the stomach, and he could like take it. Also, he was just super strong himself, but somebody did it when he wasn't ready, and then that led to like some stomach issue that then killed him.
And he also had this like made me cringe because he had just done a chain escape that had like squeezed his stomach, I think the day before. And I'm like, I know I perform on chains, so like, I know that feeling. I used to get a stomach ache actually every time after I would do this one like move. It would just wrap so tight, and then I'd just be like, I have a very bad stomach ache. Yeah, poison. Yeah, because I think the Romanovs like wanted him to be their magician, and he said no. There's like all these like there's true crime podcasts like 100 episodes deep on Houdini
About
if you
the
want.
death of Houdini.
Yes.
Okay.
It gets stick. And then
on this show, those of you watching live on Instagram or Twitch right now, those of you listening to the podcast, as you've just heard,
you're having a golden age of magic experience.
But magic transitions readily to television and is still like a staple on like late night television shows, and like TV specials, right?
David Copperfield fell.
He disappear.
We'll go back and deep dive.
There's probably like Dubin was saying, there's probably a lot of magicians practicing today who are like professional magicians now who are very influenced by David Copperfield, and then in 10 years it'll be kids who grew up with like David Blaine.
1963, the Magic Castle is formed by magical. It's basically where he went to retire. He was like the Hovey Burgess at this.
Okay. I mean, yes, although he was
every night
retired at the Slipper Room.
So then David Blaine was born in 1973. Street Magic.
So Jeff Sheridan is great because he's the guy who popularized street magic, which is really funny because, as we said at the beginning of the episode, street magic or doing magic walking around fairs and stuff was on the vaudeville circuit, and then it was brought back to the street.
Yeah.
All you need is a handheld camera.
I like the name of this book, The Wandering Magicians and Their Conjuring Art. So it's got like a nice, feels good in your mouth. Then in 1997, there was a series called The Masked Magician of
Yeah.
But
so they'd just be like, here's a set.
To this trick. Yeah. After these
creating to watch.
So 1997, David Blaine, Street Magic of Chris Angel, the Mind.
Sort of
he's like the good Charlotte of magic.
He wears eyeliner, right? He is such a contrast to David
mind
Blaine.
Freak. He's a mind freak. I just love that.
I mean, right? Because David Blaine also does aspects of mentalism in his shows.
All right, so now that is like the history thus far.
History of magic thus far.
But now we'll go back and talk about like some of the like.
We can kind of break down too. So, right, magic as it is today is, as we saw talking to Dubin, it once again has jumped back into television because it's a great medium for doing but like reprogramming smart on the notes or on the calculator on their David Copperfield. They've kept doing shows
that came on there that are just like, hey,
don't have like other TV magicians on, do a trick that will fool luck.
Yeah, they're like, do you know this guy?
It's
like,
great.
Does this name sound familiar?
And it's like, we looked it up and it was like, how to get something in a bottle by putting a slit in the side of the bottle. It's like,
I know.
You got me.
He was like, good day, sir.
I just wanted to be on your show. Thank you.
He was like, I love you. Goodbye.
Yeah, we saw Matt Holtzclaw on there. He was the famous Slipper Room magician.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so was Dubin and
Dubin was on Fool Us?
No. I mean, he was actually like one of the reasons why I perform at all the places that I do is because of Matt Holtzclaw, because a lot of it's really hard to like get booked. It's like birthday, and they were at his show, and then they saw me, and
then it's like back together again. And Penn and Teller were like, we know that trick.
He also pulled some string out of his eye, which
he then did pull the string out of his eye.
It was wild, but I knew him as like Matt Holtzclaw, like professional like jacket magician, and then he has this other he's like, oh, like he does like the cigarette trick where the cigarette never it never goes out, basically. He keeps you've seen him do that trick.
I know, it's great.
Yeah. And he's like, well, you see, if I put this part out, how he's doing it, kind of thing.
In the wrong way.
Yeah,
and it keeps happening.
And it's like, but he's kind of
great.
just
it's some great sleight of hand
in on it with you. But it's great because they're two totally different. He's like very put together, and then he's like Florida dude. Speaking of doppelgangers, there's a lot of cases of magician doppelgangers.
Oh yeah, so we'll talk about magician doubles real quick.
Yes, and
we talked about it before a little, right? With like various magicians, like, and their assistants going and like taking their secrets and like going against them, and like there's a lot of drama in the world of magic. Yeah. More so than you don't see them from groups or whatever else, I guess. But
they didn't have Twitter back so then. Yeah, so they actually had to do it like IRL.
There's so much secrets. Like you really are when someone joins your, group
Magics.
or because of that. The Christopher Nolan, what was that, 2008?
2006,
2006 movie about two fictional feuding magicians. And one of them just does it because and then the rival magician hires Nikola Tesla to build him a cloning machine and then clones himself every night to do the trick. and then kills the clone instead of just reusing the clone.
Yeah, every night he's killing clones.
Hate that movie. Anyway, those are two fictional famous doubles.
But there's the Great Lafayette.
The Great Lafayette's
A great
I guess,
one.
I mean, it's a tragic story, but a great example of a double, right? Do you want to tell the tale?
I mean, he died in. Wait, while I tell the story, can you look up? Can you look that up while I
Everyone's
tell the
asked.
story of the
Sure,
Great
sure.
Lafayette?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
So you don't get their.
I don't want the mentalists to come after
We're
me.
gonna get their names wrong.
So, well, Bollywood Ken. Gotta get on here.
Bollywood films about a musician. I wonder what it's called.
Yeah. The Great Bollywood Ken. Okay, so the Great Lafayette died in a fire in the Empire Theatre in Edinburgh in 1911. His body was cremated,
It's 1911, Golden Age.
also as the Great Lafayette. The first body had actually been a double of the original Lafayette. And no one, a lot of that shows you like how.
Oh, much like Chung Ling Soo. So this Chung Ling Soo was born in 1861, but really got popular. Yeah, this is this is another great story because he was motivated by spite for the most part. Yeah, I don't know, appearance tricks, but basically like stage magic type stuff. And there was a magician that he, I guess, wanted to. Let me find it real quick. So what was the other? Ching Ling Fu.
Yeah, so Chung Ling.
That's it. He had like issued a challenge that and I guess it was a standard gimmick for magicians of the era. So it was a prize of $1,000, which in today's dollars would be like $10 million or whatever, if you could successfully duplicate his illusions. And so William Robinson did. William Robinson had previously failed, and then he did it again. He like wanted to do the challenge again, and then he like succeeded. And then William Robinson was so mad to act as a Chinese magician,
Which today he would
Appropriation.
just be like, the SJ.
Chinese magicians. So William Robinson renamed himself as Chung Ling Soo.
He also had a wife she was also like originally white, and
She also did like an Orientalism thing.
he paid her. She had like a living
Her name was Bessie Smith.
originally, but then it was like some
Okay.
Asian name that he gave her, and he paid her to be Chinese with him and carry this ruse along.
He invented a whole complex backstory whereby he had a Scottish mother and like a Chinese father, and his whole act was full of like very like intentionally like execute him. And he would like
also capitalizing on the like.
Sung Ling Soo.
No, I mean the boxer like he was like
Yeah.
death by the boxer like execution.
Make a goldfish appear in a bowl or something.
Yeah.
The rest of his life.
Yeah, he was
Gibberish Chinese. And the interpreter would just give answers because he never learned Mandarin or anything.
Yeah, he didn't have Duolingo. Come on now.
No, and he would not speak English on stage or anything except occasional one or two words about this. So Ching Ling Fu tried to expose him and like set up a radio interview that he invited him to, and was like this like asshole. I'm gonna like show everyone sing for Ching Ling Fu.
Yeah,
The
bro.
magician was clearly copying.
The moral of the story is you have to clean your gun out
Clean
like
your
all
gun.
the time. Up into it so it doesn't.
There's actually multiple ways to do it.
Yeah, but the way that he was doing it.
In the Prestige, they have a magnet that pulls the bullet back out of the chamber. The ramrod itself removes the bullet to go in the second barrel, whereas the charge went in the first barrel.
But there was a lot of extra gunpowder because you need like the gunpowder out, guys, because enough of it collected and it heated up the bullet, I guess, in the chamber.
Yeah,
right,
just
the chamber below it.
The spark from the actual chamber caught the second chamber on
Yep,
fire
and
fired
it
the
shot
bullet.
him, and he spoke his
Shot him.
first words of English, which were, no, something has gone terribly wrong, and people were
Yeah.
like, oh, he finally learned English. Yeah, and he died. So yeah, you got to take care of your equipment. It's just like in Ariel, you got to check your carabiner, check your swivel. You know, you gotta keep your equipment like
I think
fresh.
the more telling moral that I thought was that no one cared. Like, people were like, of course he has a fake backstory. He's a magician. Like, we're not going to see the truth. So, like, why are you trying to expose that he has a fake backstory? Of course, I'm sure his tricks aren't real. Like, you mean he's not actually, like, levitating? Like, yeah, so, like, I like the idea that people really, like, wanted to believe in the myth. And they, like, no one cared. They're like, you can't expose him. We don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah, people like being fooled, and that's they like being fooled in safe parameters, I would say, which is why I think people like magic so much. Like, magicians they're not saying that they are actually like conjuring spirits, or like, you know, like Dupin said, he's a performer who does magic. He's not a magician. You know, but you know, people like the adrenaline, and they like the uncertainty and the excitement, and they're saying how they work, but we're not going to do that.
We didn't expose too many tonight, actually.
Yeah.
Plus, you guys can look them up.
You can look them up. You know, we looked up a lot of how a lot of tricks are done. And I guess that's also the moral. Like, they seem very simple and obvious. The real trick is how charismatic the performer is that's executing the trick. You know, that's the real magic. Yeah.
I do want to say that we didn't get into mentalism at all. Since we're wrapping up the show, I guess, right? We've mostly talked about stage magic and like sleight of hand, because I personally really like that kind of magic.
What's your favorite like magic in person? Not. And then we watched a lot of magic videos.
I do love the magician who has all the doves.
Alexander Boyce.
Alexander Boyce is great.
He's great.
Love the control of the doves. The doves are very cute. They keep appearing. I'm like, how many pockets are in that suit that he keeps pulling doves out?
And he doesn't talk. I don't think he does.
I
like that. I think because I relate to it, because as an aerialist, I don't talk during my acts, you know, and I feel like that when you don't talk, you have to really perfect your body language, and it's kind of more mysterious and it makes people focus a lot, especially if the audience members are like drunk, you know, and you're inviting people to talk. You got more invitation for like hecklers, so you have to really be on top of your game there.
We didn't talk about Penn and Teller much, but actually, right, the reason Teller is silent is it was a shtick that he developed before he met up with Penn. Actually, he used to, like, when he first started as a young magician, would do the stage patter and everything else. And then he did a lot of college frat parties when he was like a teenager. I guess this was in like the 60s or 70s. And I guess that's a tough crowd. And he found that if he was just, instead of trying to do a patter, if he just was silent and very serious while like performing the act, people were way more likely to pay attention and not throw beer at him and yell at him during the act. So that became his shtick. And then, you know, 50 years later, it's still his thing.
Yeah. And Alexander Boyce, he does like his style is kind of like more, it's like, it has this olden timey, like golden age of magic vibe. Like it comes across very strong.
He does. He has a very Victorian sort of style.
Yeah.
Like a very serious gentleman pulling doves out of,
but like
delicate.
Turning
handkerchiefs into doves and then placing them in his cage.
Yeah, and he also does this, I guess, like a napkin levitation, like a cloth napkin. He makes it, or no, it's an airplane. He gets an airplane, like a paper airplane, and he makes it levitate, and then, he puts it under like a sheet, and it's like keeping the sheet afloat, which is really cool. And I've done the curtain, like at the slipper room, you have to like pull each other's curtain, and I've like been behind the curtain, like very close to him while he was doing his act, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna like figure out where these doves are going, where they're coming from, what's going on, and I like could not figure it. I was like, okay, I am gooked and gagged, like I can't figure it out. So Yeah. Yeah.
I forget. There's one more mentalist we forgot to mention on the list. I wasn't gonna go super. Dubin mentioned it too. Mentalists really like to. Right, magicians are very much like. None of them are like, oh, I have magic powers. They're all just like, if you press them, they'll acknowledge, well, it's sleight of hand. I move the cards around, whatever. But like, that's kind of the art of it. Oh yeah, I had you right on carbon paper when you like made the note, or like that they're cheating, or they won't acknowledge even like, oh, there's like a lot of psychology with you can get people to like think of a certain word with certain other triggers, for example. They'll be like, it really is magic. So there are books on mentalism because there are mentalists who are opposed to that take on it, and so they will argue the other way and try to reveal the secrets of mentalism. But there's a very famous mentalist.
Miss Cleo?
Not her. He had a gimmick. I forget his name because there's a movie about him that John Malkovich is in because his career like tapered off and then he had a big comeback. We will have to look it up. But he had a gimmick where he would come out and he'd be like, this is my paycheck for tonight. If like in this envelope, and if I can't find this envelope, I don't get paid tonight. And then he would have an audience member hide it, and then like anywhere in the theater, and the other audience, he'd be like, these 10 audience members will like take me backstage and make sure I don't peek or anything.
It's like the finding of like the matzah on a.
Yeah, so he would basically I think he had just kind of tuned himself to listen for cues as people respond in the audience, is because everyone in the crowd knew where it was hidden, right?
Yeah.
So if based on like how people responded, he found it. It was like 99.9% of the time in his career. He didn't find it. He said there were 12 times he didn't find it.
Oh man, I really want to know where the people hit it for those times.
So I read once to it and just couldn't. I don't know if they put under something heavy or what, but like he just couldn't find it. But he was like, I know it's in
He
this
got
area.
tired. He was
Yeah,
like,
got
it's
tired.
been a long day.
But for the most part, yeah, it was great. There's not a magician. Richard Feynman would do this with books. This is a fun trick that anyone can do if you have a bookshelf in your home. Is leave the room, have one of your guests open a book and rifle through it and put it back.
That's creepy though. Yeah, because he would like, go through rooms and be like, I'll smell them on my books. That's like creepy AF.
Maybe that's what this mentalist was doing.
Yeah. Yep. A smentalist.
Yeah, a
smeltalist. An olfactorist.
All right. That's the best joke we've had tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll leave it there unless we have any other guests. If anybody else wants to talk about magic. We got a whole show?
We have a whole show. On Saturday, it is going to be a magical rave. A magic rave. Dr. Wires, he's going to be performing acts of DJing and decapitation. Maybe his head will come and DJ for you, and maybe his hands will.
Stop telling them.
Maybe. I said maybe. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be his legs.
But it's great. We got a bunch of tracks we're already rounding up that are about the theme of magic. Belief and illusion.
If any of you have suggestions on this and you get to us before February 6th, message us.
Mail them in now.
Yeah, mail them in.
We'll check them out.
And I'm going to be doing Ariel for you, and I have chains. I'm going to make my lyra look like a top hat.
Really?
I mean,
I
kind of.
I didn't know those things.
I figure when it turns on its side, it's like a top hat, and I can like come out of it.
The metal rings, I think they're called Chinese rings. It's like a standard. You put the rings through each other or whatever.
Yeah, we can call that. We can say that that's what I'm performing on as well.
It actually has a little side.
You can use your imagination.
Yeah.
Also, we will be paying homage to like the spiritualist, anyone who's feeling a bit spiritual.
Yeah,
a little bit in the beginning. We're gonna get a little ghosty with you.
Maybe it's for the mentalists
or the levitation, the little spooky stuff. Yeah, and we have Abracadabra is going to be doing some straitjacket escaping, or not. Maybe he won't be able to escape. You'll have to tune in.
That'll be so cool if he can. Either way, it's gonna be really.
It's gonna be
cool.
great.
Just
He's
having a
gonna
person
bring-
try to escape from a straitjacket
in our space.
Because yeah, I suppose that's true of all the people who went to see Houdini. It's like yeah,
And maybe we can get Dubin as well. Maybe we'll have 2 magicians and 2
We'll check it out.
posers.
But even if we can't, I do look forward to seeing Dubin as soon as he's back on stage.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks everybody
So, yeah.
for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We plugged the rave. It's Saturday. If you want to see it live, 9 p.m.
to 11
to 11 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time.
at twitch.tv/secretloft.
Exactly. You can watch my portions of it also on Instagram, but you really shouldn't. You should see it on
Yeah.
Twitch because it's way better.
We got a whole chat community going on there.
Yeah.
Shout out once again on Twitch. Thanks for everybody who watched there, and young Chi-Chi who gave us a nice tip tonight. So
Yeah,
that was
thank you
sweet.
so much. We do the show, like we said, to make ourselves smile and to make you smile, and for fun. So thank you so much.
And to learn the secrets of magic.
Yeah, to learn all the secrets. If you have, we have a bunch of themes lined up, but if you have anything that you want to see covered, just holler at us. We are very open to suggestion.
We'll see about it. It's a good suggestion.
To good
For everybody else to
suggestions.
All right, I'm gonna play.
All
this
right,
song.
let's play us out.
Isn't enough. You have
I
to
won't do
see
the cards again.
That's
You have to bring it back. It's the third
That's
part.
why every magic trick has a
Cards.
third act.
We should pose though.
The hardest part. The part we call
This top hat never really.
prestige.
You got me started, ain't nothing on earth can stop it. It's crazy, I'm
Here,
falling.
get in the
Don't know what
Instagram.
else to call it. Oh, do you believe
Get in here a little bit.
Do you believe in magic? Ooh, dancing together, nothing that could be better. Tomorrow don't matter, make the night last
Pretend that I threw them. I'll do it again for the rave. I promise.
Yeah, we saw magic tonight.
True. I'm a believer.